Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by my buddy Myron.
Hey, guys. Nick, I was going to fill you in on something.
What's that, man?
I've decided to start applying for a job at the post office, and then you can call me Myron the Mailman. It'd be a good gimmick, and then I might actually get to see more wrestling shows than I do now. Because I think we miss out on too much because of my work.
Well, I mean, it happens. I mean, there's stuff we miss because of my job. I mean, it happens.
Yeah, but I want a really good gimmick name.
Be the Milkman. Myron the Milkman.
I'll think about that too.
I will milk you. No, that doesn't sound good.
I'll work on that one. We'll need to work on that. Okay. Hey, folks, we're back again for another one of your favorite podcasts. What you got, Nick?
Well, they're back for the 21st ranked best wrestling podcast on the planet. That's who we are.
Yes.
We're 21.
Next year, we're going to be in the top 20.
That's right. But, you hate to start on a bummer note, but we're going to just start on a bummer note.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I was trying to get up with the bullshit so I wouldn't have to talk about this.
Well, I put a post out the other day and, kind of said, if anybody knows me at all, I'm a comic book guy, not just a Marvel movie guy. Stan Lee passed away, 95 years young. Dude had a hell of a run. That was what's funny. Everybody's messaging me. I mean, we knew he would been sick for a while.
Yeah.
Wasn't really a surprise. At 95, are you ever really surprised?
No, it's not like anybody said, well, you don't know what he died from. Well, hell, he died from being 95 years old.
Yeah. It was a sad day. I mean, guy had done it all. I mean, growing up reading comics, I mean, he basically created our childhood, the way I try to explain it to people.
Well, that, and he also created this unique environment, and he created a different way of looking at things for a kid like me who was growing up in rural Alabama, who didn't know about tolerance, who didn't know about different kinds of people, who didn't know about being good to people. He was taught a certain way, and I get this, Stan Lee type stuff, and his little pep talks he wove in through the different letters to the back. You remember they had letters to the back of comic books? Exactly,
man. That's where everybody doesn't know. That's where Excelsior kind of started from, was the back pages.
And you got this positive feeling about the world because there were people that could explain things in a positive manner, and it's the closest as a child that I got to different points of view and maybe like understanding the way the world worked and how to be good to your other human beings. And I mean, I'm teared up right now really bad, but Stan Lee had a much bigger impact on me than I might ever admit.
Yeah.
And you got his autograph. I mean, I was there with you when he got his autograph that time. God, I wish I'd have done the same thing. I wish I'd have dropped the $60 and got his autograph, because they're not available anymore.
Yeah. I mean, that was part of that post I put out, that, I never overpay for autographs. I'm not a fan of, paying a ton of money for an autograph.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the worst part of that whole story was I completely probably overpaid for the book to get him to autograph the book.
Yeah.
But, and in hindsight, like I said, now it's probably, it's money well spent at this point. Cause like you said, the guy built growing up reading the comic books. I mean, Iron Man, Thor, Ant-Man. And it's crazy because, I grew up reading the books, and then of course now all of a sudden there's this huge wave of the Marvel Cinematic Universe where all the movies are coming out and everybody's like, oh, they're a fan, Of course you're a fan. You're a fan of the movies. I get it. And I'm not knocking that. That's fine. But he laid the foundation for all of that with, the Strange, Doctor Strange, Fantastic Four, Daredevil, X-Men. He created all of those.
And it was a different world, and he said that very much, where one time he was embarrassed about being a comic book artist, and it wasn't accepted to be a comic book fan, always. And you got that feeling from Stan and the things Stan wrote and the things he put in and the positivity he let you have through his writings and his postings where, it was one thing that being different didn't make you weird. Being different made you special. And he has a lot bigger impact on people's lives than I think a lot of people ever understand.
Well, most people don't even know Stan Lee was the creator of all of this that they love so much now. Yeah. That whole MCU. I mean, but it is cool that we've kind of gone. We went through a phase where it was cool to be a wrestling fan. At the peak when there was a Monday Night Wars, everybody was always asking your opinion. Now with the movies, everybody's always like, well, how did this work in the comics? Or how does it, because they didn't read the books, they just watched the movies. But now we're in a generation where comics have been accepted a whole lot more. And everybody's probably asking at this point, like, how does this tie into wrestling? I mean, it wouldn't matter if it didn't, but it does.
Yeah, we're still going to do it anyway.
Yeah, we were still going to do it anyway.
It really does.
But how expansive it was. I mean, it was like Mick Foley, Xavier Woods, Kenny Omega, Matt Hardy, Paige, Cody, Samoa Joe, Ember Moon, Conan, Shelton Benjamin, Lance Storm, just were some of the few that I saw that were tweeting stuff about him.
Yeah, it was, I was flooded with tweets yesterday and today, and it's hard. It was really, really hard to not have a moment. And now I'm probably having a moment now where I reflect on what Stan Lee meant to me and what Stan Lee meant to my childhood and what Stan Lee means to me as a man now. Most of the entertainment. I mean, Stan Lee is to comics what, who can we go back and compare him to in wrestling? Vince McMahon Sr.?
The problem is you're going to it's going to be Vince. It's going to be Vince you'd be the comparison. Because there were guys that were doing books before Stan. Yeah. Stan just kind of brought it to the forefront and did the best with it. So I would say Vince is probably the guy. Stan Lee into comics is what Vince is to wrestling. I mean, I hate to say that. That's probably the easiest, best analogy. So,
God, I don't want to know what I'll do when Vince dies. And everybody wants to bash on Vince, but look at him for what he is and look what he's contributed. So
yeah. But anyway, we just wanted to take a second, pay some respects to Stan Lee, the man. I mean, Stan the man. He was, he like I said, he built a ton for us, and we appreciate it. Yeah. Well, let's move on to wrestling. Like I said, never a good segue when we talk about people passing away. So we just kind of
especially not when there was somebody of that gravitas.
Yeah. So let's move into, we'll go straight into what we were going to start. That's the crazy part. That's where I was going to start the show with. And by the way, just behind the curtain real quick, I do notes on Tuesdays, typically, getting ready for the show. And then, if any consequence happens to SmackDown, I kind of edit them a little bit. But SmackDown Live completely destroyed my notes. Obviously if you watched it, you kind of know what we're talking about. Because my original notes were, hey, is the women's division basically stealing the show right now, heading into Survivor Series? And the answer to that simple is it's not that hard to answer. Yes. Yeah. I mean, cause here, I'll kind of briefly show you what my logic was. It was the height. I mean, it was just literally, it was the hottest thing on Raw. Everything, all the segments that they were involved in, with Rousey was in a couple, then the attack and in the locker room, and then the attack in the ring and the brawl, and even my wife was like, Ronda Rousey's promo was pretty good. She was like, they're really doing a good job with this, with the women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got that Paul Heyman guy helping her craft her promos, and he's probably one of the best of all time on a promo. And that helps, but she has an amount of feeling that you can't script. And Rhonda actually how do we say this? I don't want to say she acts like she believes and is living this, but she is convincing to the fact that she is serious about this. Like she's involved in this storyline. If we take, everybody's going to talk about Becky Lynch last night, or not Monday night. But did you see Ronda's face? Do you see the amount of hurt and hatred in her face when Becky was going up the thing and going up the stairs? Ronda, it's just, she sold the hurt and the hate. It was believable.
Well,
I really felt that.
Yeah, the whole Rousey and Becky Lynch feud, like you said, was the complete focus of the entire, and to me was the focus of, it'd be like back in the old days, quote unquote, how Austin was the focus of the whole Raw. But they still had other stuff going on.
Yeah.
But Becky and Ronda were the focus of Raw.
Yeah.
And that brawl at the end with the, kudos to Becky Lynch for getting up and even finishing that segment, right?
Oh,
which we're going to discuss that in a second here. But that sold, when that went off with her bloody face and her holding that tight, I'm kind of, screaming like basically this is my show now, that kind of stuff. It sold the whole thing. You even put up yourself. You were all in for that pay-per-view at that point.
Yeah, it's weird that they had a Big Four show that I was just like, oh, okay. And I'd seen the pictures they had taken. I'd seen her and Ronda working back and forth. And it was building, and I thought it'd be okay. But when she came out there and she went backstage and tore up Ronda with the armbar, and she came out there and was just roughing up the whole roster, and she got busted open, and she didn't stop, and she just laying waste to everybody. And then they give her she gets the chair and starts just taking Ronda. Oh my God, she was doing old school hardcore chair shots on her. And I'm like, oh my God. And then Ronda came out, and you could see the pain and the agony and the hatred in her face. And Becky is just stunting. What's a better word for that? She is just totally, what's the word? She's just, I'm not going to say prissing, but she's posturing, and she's like showing off that she's the badass, and she's believable. Jesus Christ, Nick, she was incredibly believable.
Everything worked to a T. It sold it, and what they needed was the blood and all that. I think made everything stand out, and it sold everybody that it's time to buy this pay-per-view. However, it turned out being the worst thing that could happen because the way she had the blood was, I'm not going to beat up on Nia Jax about that. I know everybody on the social media wanted to. Nia Jax gives her a shot to the face that apparently broke her nose, face, gave her a concussion. It's a hell of a punch. She's going to give Big Show a challenge, I guess, when the punching department. But Becky's out. It's real simple. They won't medically clear. Becky is just completely out of the whole Survivor Series. And then she's picked Charlotte, handpicked, on SmackDown. So now we're getting Charlotte versus Ronda, which is kind of a bummer. Becky's promo was really good on SmackDown. But Charlotte's going to have the opportunity. I think my only knock on the whole thing, and I know they're trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit, I understand. But I really just didn't like that. It's nothing they can do about it. So I'm not complaining. I'm just saying if my only thing that bums me out about it is that Charlotte, Ronda really has no build. It's like 5 days out.
It has no build, but it's a match that is, I hate to say, it's a great match. It's a great matchup. Charlotte's a legit wrestler and a talent, and she's tough, and she's done this before. And Ronda is the new face of the women's division. But there's no build, you're right. And it's something that I hate to see them waste. Wouldn't you have just seen like, oh my God, I can't wait for Ronda and Charlotte? Or you knew it was going to happen one day, and it was a big deal, and all of a sudden it's like an afterthought because now Becky's hurt.
That was basically, that was it. That was the biggest bummer of it all, is that Becky's out. We're going to get Charlotte. I think they're going to do some cool stuff. I know a lot of people complained about like some of the moving parts of it, about what went down. But they got to scramble. They got to make something work. And, that's,
Yeah, and I mean, it's a good solid match, and they did a lot of crazy stuff to build the pay-per-view on other angles tonight.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to go next. I mean, I'm pretty passionate about this one. Daniel Bryan does the heel turn. And by the way, if somebody asked me the other day, you just blurt stuff out like what I just did, like Daniel Bryan's a new champion, and we start talking about it from an editorial point of view or whatever. They're like, how did he win? I'm like, okay, that's not our show. We're not a recap show. They make news blogs for that.
No. It's on all your DVRs. It's on your television.
Yeah, go back and watch it.
You've seen it now, and it's almost perfunctory that you would be watching that kind of stuff if you're going to be listening to the show.
Exactly. So anyway, Daniel Bryan wins the title. We get the heel turn, it looks. I mean, Daniel Bryan's full heel, it looks like this point, with the low blow to win the title. So we're going to get, looks like, WWE's announced that we're getting Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan, but we're getting heel Bryan versus heel Lesnar, which is different. So, I mean, maybe they just, what do you think? Maybe they just want to do a repeat of last year with Lesnar Styles?
It's a unique situation, and I think they're actually going to give us something we're going to like. They can take a heel match like this, and you still want to pull for Bryan because he's the underdog. Lesnar's the monster. So you still got, even if he's a heel, he's still a David and Goliath type heel. I mean, who can pull for Lesnar? I mean, objectively, if you look at a Lesnar match and you're going to just say, "Oh, let's see who am I for," you're going to pull for the little guy. That's just automatic. So I don't think there's any harm in having these two in a heel type double heel match because they're so different. They're such different people, But hey, they did get a heel reaction. That was what was a lot of people. Let's go ahead and address it because everybody was talking about it. Everybody complains about WWE's predictable. They're stale. They do the same thing. So they do something different, and everybody went to social media complaining about that. Why did they turn Daniel Bryan bad? I'm like, dude, they're just mixing it up. They're trying this new stuff. And they really mixed it up.
Contrary to popular belief, Daniel Bryan got booed when he attacked AJ. And did they make a mistake? And it's all relative. When you say make a mistake, they turned Becky heel, and the fans loved it. So Becky's not a heel. Becky's a babyface.
Like, she was like a babyface like Steve Austin was a babyface.
Exactly. And now Daniel Bryan, fortunately for them, I think because that's what they wanted, they did it to the right person.
Well, your best heel turns are your best face turns, and your best face turns are your best heel turns.
Well, I mean, they turned him like on the right person, like turning him against AJ.
Yeah,
was the right one to do it, and because the fans actually bought it, and then they actually didn't like it, so they booed him. That was the best part of it all. It wasn't like he did it on, I don't know, I can't even think
Zack Ryder.
Well, I'm just saying, because Becky's was on a higher profile, but it could have been on somebody that the fans were like, yeah, we're sick of them anyway, and they just kind of rode with it.
Yeah, exactly. They put him over on somebody who was super over, and it worked.
Yeah, like the fans wanted, yeah.
That's what wrestling has always done, and when you don't know what you do, you go back to what's worked in the past, and they did that tonight. And it may be predictable or unpredictable, but it's something I don't see how anybody could really complain because you're getting what you wanted. If you didn't get the match you wanted because somebody has a concussion and a broken face, they went out and tried to find you something appealing to take place of it.
Well, I just liked that it wasn't predictable. Why? Because, to sit there and go like, why would Daniel Bryan turn? If you paid attention, they gave you the reasons. You just didn't hear it.
Yeah.
He just doesn't like the fact that he tapped out to AJ Styles. He wrestled he wrestled him and the two best wrestlers in the world, which, by the way, everybody clamored for to see. And it looks like we're probably going to end up, after Survivor Series, by the way, we're probably going to end up with AJ Styles, babyface, versus heel Daniel Bryan, which we saw that match 2 weeks ago, but it was two baby faces, so it was one of the better matches that nobody gave two shits about. Now they're going to care.
Yes, exactly. And they can do that with Survivor Series. It's not like it hurts anybody involved in Survivor Series. Because you're facing people on a different show, and like last night, heel and face didn't matter. Everybody was out together. It's going to be it's going to be a show versus show where you can get over, you can't get over, or you can do something. And even if Bryan loses to Lesnar, that does not hurt Bryan. And if Lesnar loses to Bryan, Lesnar goes his way and he comes back later on. He did some UFC time because they had to book Lesnar for a couple times after Roman got cancer, for Christ's sakes. So there's all kind of stuff going on. It's all kind of possibility.
The big thing was WWE Championship. AJ Styles had it. He had it for 371 days. But they had kind of run their course they had run their course with Joe. They had, Daniel Bryan had already had his match, but so you had thought they had moved on. But there was really nobody at the top. I mean, Nakamura's tied up with the U.S. belt. So guess what? It was a smart move. It just gives AJ Styles a new opponent. Mm-hmm. And somebody that you claimed that you wanted to see them wrestle forever. I mean, a good feud between those two. Hopefully you're going to get good matches. And now you're going to care that you want one to win and one to lose.
Yeah, it's going to matter a lot more. One's a face and one's a heel, and you got to support one because of the profound emotion that wrestling can draw out in people.
Yeah, I mean that's the important part of. We've talked about this on other things. Like we've talked about going into Survivor Series of making a way to make people care, make the Survivor Series mean something. Well, apparently they were listening, but they kind of went a different direction than we were talking. Because with the Mixed Match Challenge, we in the past had said, why not give somebody the Royal Rumble spots to the teams who win, etc.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, miraculously, the Mixed Match Challenge winners, they're going to get the 30 of the spots for the Royal Rumble in January in Phoenix. So now, guess what? People should care who wins the Mixed Match Challenge.
Exactly. And, people clearly care because they watch the thing.
We were looking before,
there's a lot of people watching this.
Yeah, we looked before we got on to do this recording, and there were episodes that had 5 million views. That's more than Raw and SmackDown.
It's twice as many as Raw and SmackDown draw.
It's crazy.
50 times as many as an Impact show is drawing right now. Nothing against them, because I love the Impact shows. But everybody's saying, they'll be on they're looking for a new TV deal. They're going to get a different TV deal. I hope they do, because they put them on a late night slot. They're running up against Conan O'Brien and shit like that, man.
They run up against They run against 2.5 Men in My House, and they lose.
And that show hasn't been on TV in 20 years.
Yeah, I watch repeats. I watch syndicated repeats of 2.5 Men that go to bed instead of watching Impact. And I like Impact. I just have to watch it the next day.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pop TV
I really
app.
hope they get that deal. Well, Pop TV clearly doesn't want them.
I don't know. That's a whole other argument all in itself, right?
Well, I'm hoping Vince is listening to this because, if he's listening to these other shows. We do, 2 downloads in Stamford, Connecticut, according to the map?
Something like that, yeah.
And 1 Triple H and 1 is Vince.
That's our logic, right?
Yeah.
But...
You proved me wrong.
Proved me wrong, yeah. Well, let's move out of the WWE for a second because there was a couple big things I really wanted to talk about. I know everybody can, if you have anything you want us to talk about, just email us, tappedoutpod@gmail.com, DM us at tappedoutpod, Facebook message us to, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. But stuff that I really wanted to get into this week, my original set of notes, this was what I was going to actually kind of lead the show with originally, as crazy as that sounds. Mike Johnson from Pro Wrestling Insider Elite, how coincidental that it's the Elite, right? Puts a thing out this week saying that Ring of Honor's in search and sign mode desperately because it's going to be long-winded, man. I'm apologizing up front. This is a long-winded explanation here for me. With the situation they're in right now with the Bucks, Hangman Page, Cody, Omega's contract's coming up, Marty Scurll's contract, they're all coming up, everybody, and they've all talked about they're going to, go to anywhere they go together. And be blunt, they've all turned down the Ring of Honor contract, so everybody believes they're on their way out.
And quite a few rumors are they've turned down WWE contracts.
Yeah, we're not going to give away any sources or any names or anything, but there's this rumor running around that it's Jericho and JR and, this guy from the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's the big secret of there's this big promotion coming up. And word on the street is that's not the case, that it's the Bucks. And Cody and those guys are the ones that are tied in with him. So if that's the case, we'll discuss that on a whole other show about starting a new promotion and getting involved with the guy from down at the Jacksonville Jaguars to do that. The point of this whole that I wanted to address is if Ring of Honor loses all of that, I mean, that's a huge chunk. And it's not just that it's a chunk. It's top tier chunk of your roster.
Yeah. And then they also lost, they've lost Punishment Martinez recently. So they've got a lot of guys gone. And if all those guys leave too, where's their draw power?
Well, they're trying. They started with Jeff Cobb, bringing him in. They always go to the Indies, man. They always are pulling in. There's two names out there that we know that we can't say who've been signed and are heading up that direction. And we're proud of both of those guys.
Yeah, definitely.
But so at least I can see the movement. They're trying to bring in, new talents. And we wish those guys the best. All of us. I hope this doesn't happen. The question brought to the table was, could Ring of Honor be in trouble with this mass exodus of this top tier talent? My answer is going to be actually, I don't think so.
Well, this kind of thing has happened in wrestling in the past. There's been times where people have booked out talent and stole talent away from other promotions. And it's worked out. It's all about how you do it. It's all about preparing for it and how you're going to come back. Hulk Hogan left the AWA, and eventually the AWA went belly up. But had they made different decisions, that might not have happened.
Let me ask you, because this is a question directed at you. When I asked about, could they be in trouble, and I don't think so, my logic is their fan base just, it's a different fan base, and they're just loyal to Ring of Honor kind of regardless, as long as they keep bringing in the Jeff Cobbs.
Are they loyal to Ring of Honor, or are they loyal to Cody and the Bucks?
They were already, they weren't where they are, quote unquote, now, but were they? Weren't they really there kind of before they got there anyway? Think about this, and this is no disrespect to Ring of Honor. It's kind of a compliment, to be honest with you. Weren't they pretty much already where they were? Like, the company, to me, is no bigger now than it was without Cody and the Bucks. And anyway,
I don't know about that. I think Cody might have been the one that made it bigger, and I think the Bucks might have drawn that many more people to it. I think what Kenny Omega's done is incidental, and you can write off what Skrull and Hangman have done, but maybe it's got the people from overseas watching. Maybe it's got the New Japan fans watching. They brought a lot into it.
We'll see. We'll just have to see. I think that, I think it'll be a trying time for them, but I don't think that they're necessarily in trouble in the sense of the word, that they're going to fall apart or anything.
Well, they're a very credible wrestling promotion, and they have done a lot over the years. I think they can survive. It's just they're going to have to make the right decisions. They're not going to be able to make a wrong decision without Cody that they could have made with Cody.
Right. Well, speaking of without Cody, here's the crazy thing. Cody suffers a knee injury over the weekend. It was at Global Wars Buffalo, I believe, and they did pull him from Sunday's show. He got an MRI. Luckily, no structural damage to his MCL, ACL, PCL. But he said something like it's going to need scoped. They haven't really panicked yet about his schedule. They've kind of seeing what happens, to what they're going to have to change as far as major changes to his schedule. But my joke was, I kind of went, wink, wink. Did his knee get tweaked and popped, and he's going to ride out the rest of that January with his contract?
Yeah,
I don't think Cody's that guy. I really don't.
I don't know, man. That's not a dumb decision to make. It's not he's the smartest guy in wrestling right now. That's my take on him. He's a genius as far as wrestling. He may be as smart as his dad was. I hope the decision will be made that will be good for wrestling fans, but I can't blame the man if he takes care of himself and his family first.
Well, how's the, what am I trying to say here? He's no Le'Veon Bell. Let's put it that way. I think Cody's the kind of guy who's gonna play through. Because if he's got a plan, and especially if they're involved in this other promotion like we hear about, Cody's not going to be in the ring anytime, so he'll have time to rest it. You know what I mean? So I think he'd be all right.
Yeah, and you don't have to come in. You don't have to come in as able to wrestle the first day.
Yeah, I mean, but
it actually makes it better to hold a guy back out for a little while.
Yeah, I agree. That's my whole point. I think I agree with you there. It might create opportunities for people down the road. I mean, really, guys like Brian Pillman Jr., who we're going to talk about now. I mean, just curious. He kind of cut out an interview. I'm pretty sure it was a work, obviously, but because he's got a match coming up with Tommy Dreamer pretty soon.
Yeah.
Basically, age has always kind of been this has been an old problem that never, seems to go away. About old guys.
Especially when you talk about Tommy, and Tommy's a guy that is convincingly an older guy, and you could do this kind of thing with.
Well, I just mean from the sense of it's an age-old thing in wrestling where the young guys all say the old vets need to get out of the way and make room for the young guys, and it just never stops. I mean, it's always the younger generation always complaining about their older vets, and what was it always like Kevin Nash or Scott Hall once said that, if you want the spot, just take it. Go out there and make the fans, make you the top guy.
Oh, he's burying them. He's burying the younger talent. That's a constant, So what did Mr. Pillman Jr. have to say about the whole thing?
Oh, I mean, that's what I'm saying. That was pretty much it. It was, time for the old guys to get out of the way and let the younger guys come in and, get the spots. I mean, because they're just kind of holding up the spots. They're not near as talented, that kind of thing. They're just kind of in the way, more or less is the way I would put it. But we talked about it all the time. Hogan, wouldn't give up his spot. Flair wouldn't give up his spot, and then, when you go to WWE, you're talking, is it Triple H and then won't get out, they won't give their spot up. John Cena, everybody accuses him of not giving his spot up, which is BS, but whatever.
If you can outdraw them, I mean, they would have you, it's a business. It's not about spots. They're going to book the guys that can draw the most. That's all it is. You might be a better talent, but if an older guy can sell more tickets than you, that's going to be the guy they put on the show.
Sucks for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just practical business.
And I know that a lot of people want to make, the whole thing with the Brothers of Destruction and DX at Crown Jewel, and I know what happened, so that's a bad example, but it is what it is. I mean, that match had a place on the card. Mm-hmm. Shit went sideways when Triple H got hurt, but that match has a place on the card. And it's a draw. And the guys who are underneath need to learn from it and say, hey, this, I get what its purpose is. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But go out there and because there's eyes watching them. They don't know you, and they're not watching you, but they're watching you because they are on that same card.
Yeah, they came to see the other guy, but if you do something that you can define yourself with and draw attention, it's only going to help you.
Nah, that's exactly my point, man. If the eyes are there, take advantage of it. Don't complain about it, because if they weren't there, the eyes wouldn't be there. Yeah,
you would. I mean, most folks wouldn't be watching the matches if Undertaker and them weren't on it. There's a lot of people that watch these matches. There's a lot. I mean, think about a WrestleMania. I mean, you're going to get on a WrestleMania card because there's so much talent on the card, and they're going to bring people in, and you're going to get people that are going to watch and say, "Hey, I didn't know who this guy was until the matches at WrestleMania." And all of a sudden, he came out and did something special. And I hate to make the example of that cruiserweight match between Neville and Aries, but it was a pre-show match. But they went out there and busted their asses and made themselves known. They're no longer with the company right now. I think that's might be a lot to do with ego, but they went out there and did what they had to do to be noticed. And that's terrific. You're not going to get every chance in the world, especially if you get put on a big stage. If you get put on a big stage, do what you have to do to get noticed.
Well, yeah, it's cut and dry, and it's that simple. I mean, when you get an opportunity, you got to take advantage of it, and you got to make it stick. And that's for, one of the questions floating around right now. Did Lucha Underground fail to do that? They had a deal with Netflix. Are they done? You were talking about this with me, and I'm like, is this Netflix deal look it's going to happen? I think what is it? Season 5? They're just like, is it even going to happen?
Okay, they have recorded 4 seasons. They have 2 of the 4 seasons on Netflix. Apparently, the 3rd season never made it to Netflix. I don't know all the details. The 4th season hasn't either, and all of a sudden it's time to book a 5th season. And it's almost every year that this happens, you keep hearing, are they going to be out for the next season? Are they going to be back for the next season? And they do come back. But is this going to be the season they're not able to come back from? Or they are not going to be able to draw to get that El Rey network? I mean, what does El Rey network have that's bigger than Lucha Underground? Do they have a bigger draw?
It is a big, actually, believe it or not, it's not the biggest, but it is a big draw in the Hispanic community. So, I'd have to pull it like what the ratings are for Lucha Underground on El Rey. But overall, I'm just more worried because they've got talent. I mean, they've got big name
phenomenal talent. They got a lot of great name talent, and they've also got people that were great that they've been able to enhance their visibility based on being on the Lucha Underground shows. I mean, look at Thunder Rosa, who I think is a phenomenal talent, but she was able to do something different with Lucha Underground. There's a lot of people that have been able to get onto Lucha Underground shows and become something different. I mean, Chavo Guerrero is still working, and Chavo is amazing. He's always been a phenomenal talent, but he's getting another chance to still work, and God knows how old the man is. But he doesn't look like he's missed a beat. I don't know. I really don't want to see them go, and it's part of me. It's because I have not been able to take the time to watch them all. Yeah, that Lucha Underground is like that guilty secret that I want to watch, and I can't get to all of it right now. But I was hoping if it was on Netflix, I could catch up.
Well, you could binge watch it on Netflix.
Just sit down and binge watch,
I mean, but it looks like, on El Rey, it's drawing like, again, I don't want to be disrespectful to Impact, but like 90 to 60,000 people watching it. I mean, so it's an expensive product to make. So if that's the case, I mean, it's eventually I think your money people are going to eventually go like, okay, this doesn't make sense. Why continue it?
Well, it's hard. It's hard to look at wrestling on a checks and balances sheet sometimes, it doesn't always make sense.
But hey, when it comes to dollars, man, it's always got to make sense.
Yep.
So, hopefully because like I said, they got some name, Wade Barrett, Stu Bennett, Jack Swagger, like you said, I mean, Chavo,
they've got, Johnny Mundo.
Brian Cage.
Who is huge. Brian Cage is burning up Impact right now. And we all want to have these people, whether it's Impact or Lucha Underground, the main thing is we want to see people working. So we can get to watch them and enjoy their work. And they have places to work. And it establishes that fact that you don't have to work in the WWE. You can work somewhere else and still be just as good and just as entertaining. And we need more of that.
Oh, yeah, that's our big thing. We want every company to thrive. I mean, we don't want just, small indie promotions. I mean, think about it. If you haven't heard it, by the way, this week, we had Gary Lamb back on again from Southern Honor Wrestling, and that was kind of one of the things we talked about. We were just like, it'd be nice to see a company like Southern Honor Wrestling flourish up to the point that it's another Impact, it's another Ring of Honor. Yeah. It's I mean, why not see a company? Think about it. With outlets now like Powerbomb TV, Power Slam TV, our friends over at the Fight app. I mean, there's so many outlets now for streaming, for TV, for pro wrestling. I think, why not?
Let everybody have their place, Find what you want to watch and watch it. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it.
Yeah, but I mean, I want more product. I mean, I just support it all. Find what you like and watch it and support
I would
it.
love, if I could live the perfect life down here in my basement watching wrestling, I would do it in a heartbeat. But I can't. With the fact that even Anarchy, one of my favorite promotions, is on Fight. And there was a show Saturday night, and I was tired after the Auburn game. I went to bed. I was planning on buying the Anarchy show and watching it. I really tomorrow would like to buy the Anarchy show from Saturday night and watch it. And that's possible. Even though I couldn't make it up to Cornelia, I couldn't make it to the Landmark Arena, I can still buy the show I wanted to see and watch it later.
And you know
because of the internet.
You know what's cool about the Fight app?
What's that?
If you go to our website at tappedoutpod.com, there's a link right down towards the bottom of the page. You can click on it, download the app, install it, and sign up. And a lot of that stuff is free, man. Just free content for you to watch. Ring of Honor pay-per-views are on there. There's Impact runs pay-per-views on there. Lots of other shows have their pay-per-views on there.
And when you buy something, it's yours.
Exactly. It's not like a pay-per-view in the sense of you rent it for 24 hours.
You buy it.
You own it.
I can go back and watch the NWA 70th show anytime I want to. How cool is that?
Yeah, so check it out. I mean, it's on our website. Well, we put the link up every now and then on our Twitter, Facebook, etc. But it's on the website at tappedoutpod.com all the time. So check that out. And speaking of other stuff, you mentioned Landmark Arena. I know this weekend there's a couple shows running up there that you wanted to talk about.
There's a lot of shows running this weekend. Our good friend QT Marshall has his show at his school. Hate we have to miss that on Friday. But on Friday, Total Aggression Pro Wrestling is running a fundraising show in Salty-Nakuchi, Georgia. That's a hard one to say. But they're doing it for the Caring Hands Ministry, and the Caring Hands Ministry, this is their biggest fundraiser of the year. And they feed like 600 people and give out toys to like 600 kids at Christmas. Okay? The doors open at 6, the bell is at 8. There's going to be a lot of wrestling. There's going to be face painting, and there's going to be a $500 tattoo raffle. You can get in and bid on buy tickets to get a $500 tattoo. And I've looked at the tattoo artist's work, and this guy is really good. I mean, that's a no-brainer to try to get into that if you like ink. But you got to get a lot of great guys who are working free. Wrestlers working free for a show. So look up Total Aggression Pro Wrestling on Facebook. You've got a lot of their stuff linked in through our page. We've been reposting a lot of stuff. I'll keep looking at the guys that are going to be on the show, and I'm really impressed. They've got a lot of great talent. I mean, our buddy Josie Quinn's going to be on there. Our Ashton Starr, a lot of other guys are going to be on that show. AC Mack. It's great. Jacob Ashworth. There's a lot of great talent on the show, and all the money goes to a good cause.
It's always good to see.
Yes.
Wrestling, gets a bad rap about a lot of things, but charity is kind of one of its strengths, man.
They give back.
Super charitable.
They give back more than any other sport I know of.
Oh, absolutely. So kudos to those guys, man, and good luck to them, man. We hope they do well.
I really hope this does well. I look forward. I would be there. I wish I could be there. I would like to get in that raffle with a tattoo. I'd like to see the great action. But throw a little change. If you can't go, throw a little change up there to the people at Caring Hands Ministry. Did a lot of good work in Northeast Georgia.
Yep.
We go to the Saturday night show. It's going to be up at Landmark Arena, Disruptor Pro. Dude, they brought in Shotzi Blackheart, Vandal Ortegon, Ray Fury. God, I love Ray Fury.
Yeah, we're psyched about this. We haven't seen Ray in a while, so we're getting to see him.
He's one of my favorite. And the thing about Ray Fury is he is a great person on top of being a great wrestler. Two of my favorite people on the face of this earth, the Gymnasty Boys, adore those guys.
How's it been that long since we've seen those guys?
Huh?
How's it been this long?
We saw them in Atlanta that night.
But it's still been too long.
I would actually like to at least see them at least once a month. They're that good. I love those guys that much. The Ducklings, we haven't seen the Ducklings in forever. So you're going to get that, and they're going to get a match between the Ducklings, the Gymnasty, and the Dudes. Okay? That's great. KO Tim Miller's going to be there. Strychnine's going to be there. Michael Manson's going to be there. The guy I have always wanted to meet, Effie, is going to be there. That's somebody who is a name, who is one of those guys that's independent wrestling, who is a name for himself. So that's one I'm looking forward to. There are so many talents on that show. It's going to be up at Landmark, folks. Okay? Landmark is one of my favorite places to watch wrestling.
It's world famous Landmark Arena, the house that AJ Styles built. Yeah.
Yes. Get up there, guys. The doors are going to be opening at 6. There's a VIP at 5, and the bell's at 7. www.disruptor.pro. Okay? A lot of great wrestling. And then we got the Charles William Anschutz Memorial Tournament coming up on Thanksgiving Day. Can't say enough about these guys and what they're putting on. And then we got WrestleCade, Nick. It's our vacation.
I know, man. We're psyched about it. I mean, I was talking about it. I couldn't believe it was this close. I'm like, oh my God, that's like next week.
It's being kids again. It's basically watching two fat men run around a building like, please sign my autograph. I'm so cool. You're my best friend. But it's great. You know, it's great being a real mark and marking out in front of guys that you really have always looked up to your whole life and turn out pretty cool individuals.
Yeah. I mean, we got a full schedule on our plate. I mean, and then if you're a fan of pro wrestling, man, check us out. You know, you can subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, you name it. We're everywhere. And now we're putting shows up on Facebook. They're on YouTube, which we just kind of use. I'm blunt. I use it as a storage space. That's all I use YouTube for. But all these places you can find us. Subscribe to us anywhere. Check out our Twitch channel. I'm loading up interviews on Twitch. And maybe, of course, where I really was heading everybody to is our Patreon page. Yeah. It's just patreon.com/tappedoutpod. By the way, if you ever notice, if you tapped out pod, pretty much finds us everywhere. Just kind of saying. The reason why I'm saying check it out, man, is, like this week, obviously, we had the big interview with Barrington Hughes. If you're a Patreon member, you can go ahead and get the Gurnder. I always can never remember I say his name wrong. Tony Cage, Gursinder Singh, from Impact Wrestling. What we typically do is, everybody knows over at Tapped Out Interviews, Lewis is bringing in like these, the names that you want to hear. But we will drop that interview on our Patreon page a week prior, typically, to it airing on the podcast feed that you can subscribe to. So for as little as $1 a month, I mean, you can go over there and sign up and you can get some features. Now, there are other higher tiers that get you other cool things like merch and, exclusive content and early content and all that good stuff. So definitely go head over there and check us out and subscribe to us on Patreon. That's, to me, where you're going to get everything. And you'll give it
the good thing about the Patreon is when we start getting this backlog of shows, because, folks, we do this stuff nonstop, and every spare minute we're trying to bring better content to you. We're going out there and we're talking to wrestlers and we're trying to get guys to come on the show. But we get the stuff in the backlog and it's not released yet, but we're dumping it into Patreon so you can get it first. So before anybody even gets to listen to it, and before a lot of people even get to know these guys are going to be on our show, they're on the Patreon.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you in the least, because trust me,
seriously,
that's the first place I load and dump anything, is it goes to the Patreon page first, and then I figure out the schedule for the podcast feed and all that, because it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter as far as anywhere else goes, but the Patreon, you'll hear it first there. Sign up there, and you can even subscribe to us on Twitch, because I'm starting to dump stuff there as well. Yeah, because we're going to start some game streaming and stuff.
We're getting great feedback on this stuff. And I love that, and I thank you, people. I really appreciate anybody that goes out of their way to purchase some of this stuff and find us on Twitch or find us on Patreon and show their love, man. That's great. That goes into me and Nick's pockets. And if you know anything about me and Nick's pockets, we grab that money straight out and put it into wrestling as soon as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we're doing.
Somebody's buying a T-shirt, or we're buying a T-shirt, or we're going to a show, or we're going out of our way to try to find something cool or to meet somebody new to talk to y'all about. So I'm happy. I'm happy with what you've done for us, and we really appreciate that.
Well, man, it's about that time. You got anything else before we get out of here, man?
I'm looking at my notes, and I'm pretty good, man. I don't think I have anything.
Well, if I got nothing and you got nothing, man, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.